jump right into it, eh? Yeah, we'll do this.
Now.
All right, welcome to the Details Podcast Quarantine Edition.
Yeah, seriously.
We're back, and it's kind of ironic, James. It was actually a year today that we recorded our last podcast and then went on that like 1 year hiatus. So I don't know what it is about this month or this time in general, but we're back. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, we always think our reverse jinxes work for sports, so I'm assuming it does for this whole world issue problem too, I guess, you know? Who knows?
Absolutely. So I got to ask you the most important question during this time is, how's your dating life?
completely non-existent. I'm going to say that with a stern answer, non-existent whatsoever. How's your dating life? What do you mean?
It's an interesting time because, like, you know, you'll get into a conversation and, you know, like you and me are kind of like straight shooters. Like after like 2 or 3 days, we're just like, we want to meet already, right? Like there's no point of dragging this out. But like, you don't even know if you're going to see that person till like 2021. Like it's so stupid.
Dude, 2 or 3 days of straight texting with someone you haven't met in person is not something I'm interested in doing. Like that's too much. It's less than that. No, dating life, everything is completely on pause. That should not be a worry at this point in time.
No, absolutely. It's definitely a crazy time. It's you know, we haven't talked since our last podcast, and I think it was episode 75. And what was the last thing we talked about? Like we were just getting ready for March Madness, right?
That's it. We were one podcast away from March Madness, or at least Selection Sunday.
Yeah, it's Selection Sunday. That's the thing we were looking forward to the most. Yeah. And it was, you know, it's one of our most intriguing, most anticipated times of the year. And then Rudy Gobert stuff happened, and like everything just domino effect after that. It's crazy how the NBA set the precedent for all this.
Yeah, it does seem like they kind of started it. I don't know. I mean, if you go back down the timeline, maybe there's a precedent set somewhere else in some other major sport. But Rudy Gobert was kind of the first one that was like, what I remember at least, and going, oh shit, like this is now gone from something that we read about in the paper to this is a real thing right in front of us in sports today. And dude, I mean, how that really from that moment on, it basically hit, you know, fifth gear. And I think it was, 2 to 3 days after that we had a league cancellation or something like that. So I mean, it takes a lot to cancel an NBA game, especially when dudes are like warming up. So once that happens, you kind of realize like, okay, this is definitely serious at this point.
It's not even that. It's like the business side of it, right? Like people don't understand how much millions are at risk, at cost in canceling an NBA game, let alone a season, right? So that's when I knew it was really serious. And like, unfortunately for us, things live on the internet. And our last podcast, we made light of the situation. We're just like, this thing will pass. People are overacting. It's just the fear mongering. But now, like a month and a couple of weeks later, we're like, we're stuck and we're caged up like animals. And this is the foreseeable future for the next 2-3 months.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm gonna go against the grain here and not eat my words. I don't think. Listen, we were making fun of it and stuff and all that, and it was like a jokingly. We did make light of it, and it is a very serious problem, and I'm not diminishing that. But man, come on, dude. I'm still working. I don't know about you, but
I know you're still working on your conspiracy theories too. I'm sure there are a bunch of them out there.
I don't know. This is an incredible, unknown, dangerous, scary time, of course, and especially if you have health problems and if you have that elderly number, especially, you know, definitely be aware. But you know, at the same time, I'm still living my life. You know, I'm not really
absolutely. You know what? Like. For me, I've stopped watching the news completely. Like I've completely taken that out of my agenda. I've even brought down my Twitter consumption to an extent because now I find Twitter sort of annoying. And I you know, you can only control what's in front of you. And if you're telling me I'm locked up and I can't leave, then I'm just gonna live my life like that and anticipate, like live with that sort of anticipation, right? Like, there's no point of, you know, instilling more fear in yourself. And I was like, I saw somebody today. I'm like, I've just put it the worst case scenario, right? Like if I'm not going to leave my house till September, I'm going into my day, my week, my months with that mentality. Because then if anything comes earlier than that, then it's good news.
It's all gravy. Yeah. And I think that's the thing too, right? That's like the biggest thing you should take from this is, you know, if you're someone that lives with people and such, then take care of that situation specifically. But if, you know, if you're like you and I, you know, kind of on our own, we kind of do our own thing, just keep in your own bubble then, and then you shouldn't be able to affect anybody else, and no one's going to affect you. So it's all good.
Yeah. Well, we stepped up our game. We dipped into the podcast budget and got a couple of mics I can see in front of us. If you're watching on live.
This is the reason I wanted to buy the mics, because I could never drink these in the last studio. Now we have our virtual studio.
Now, keep in mind, people can't see what you're talking about. He's talking about Starbucks coffee.
Starbucks coffee. And it's not necessarily just because it's Starbucks. More or less, coffee is the more important thing. But whatever.
No, it's great that we're back here. Obviously, this is going to be our lives for the next couple of months. And I kind of want to continue these conversations because, even though sports are not going on, there's still a lot for us to talk about. And I feel like today, especially, we're going to have like a jammed-packed episode between the draft coming up. Of course, we have to talk about the MJ doc and the 2 episodes that dropped last night. And then, and one of I think today, our bonus tales section of the podcast near the tail end will be the top 5 things we're kind of not looking that we've hated over the course of quarantine. I think we'll have a lot of fun with that. But just right off the bat, like I want to ask you, what have you learned about yourself during quarantine? Have you learned less, more about yourself during this time?
I think, a man in his 20s is always learning something about himself.
What does that mean, James?
That just means an array of things that you can kind of think about whatever you want. But the most concerning thing I have with this is that although I am still working, right? So I should preface that with that. I'm still working. I'm from home, partially in the office. I'm not seeing anybody from work really. It's very minimal, but my life is basically quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
Minus the one night. No, you know what? Two nights a week I'll be social, I think, on a regular basis. So those are the only things that has changed with me whatsoever. Because my go-to spot for eating out is Freshie. That's still open, so I still do that.
Hey,
working out.
Play the matchmaking game here.
for my working out problems, I'm all good. So my life is very, very, very similar, minus the small degree of social interaction I have on a weekly basis usually.
Yeah, I think I learned that I was really built for this because, a lot of people have been messaging me, like, my work takes me to a lot of places, a lot of commuting, a lot of drive. I think if there's the one thing that I miss, it's the drive and crushing podcasts. I've noticed that my podcast consumption actually has gone down because of that.
Me as well. Yeah,
me as well. So that's really bummed me out. And I'll listen to podcasts during a workout as well. But as a creative, I'm a homebody and I work from home a lot. So this is kind of not new to me. I think I've told a lot of people, I think in a month, my sanity will really be tested to see if it really is if it'll really start getting to me. But for the most part, I've had so many TV shows and movies that I've always wanted to watch or catch up on. I think this is a great test. If you had that one show where you're I haven't had enough time or I really want to, how much did you really like that show? Right. I mean,
to actually rewatch it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been making a running account on Twitter of the shows that I've watched, and it's insane. The amount I've watched in a month and 2 weeks. Is there anything good that you've seen that you could recommend?
I mean, I'm a huge comedy special guy. That new one by Chris D'Elia, No Pain, is hysterical.
I've heard good things.
But dude, honestly, what I've kind of found more and more, I think I'm falling to this whole new age media where my attention span is diminishing.
Yeah.
Season 3 of Ozark for me. Okay, it was great. I love Ozark. I'm a huge Bateman guy, massive Bateman guy. But was that not just the most repetitive season? I agree. Issue. We can't figure it out. Issue. I was like, dude, by episode 8, I was like, I'm done for this. Can this be over now? I'll go do something else. I don't even care anymore.
It's like when Prison Break came out, I'm like, how many times can you actually escape jail? How many seasons can this thing go on for, right? And you're kind of how much shit can you actually get into in Ozarks, right?
It kind of brings up an interesting point because I think, how much do you value TV show success based on the number of episodes and how long the episodes are? Because I think that is a completely underrated value of Netflix, is that the people that get the best ratings and the best shows are the best amount of times.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And
I totally agree with you.
And this is a strange thing for me to say because I you know what, I'm openly, I enjoy Justin Bieber music. I'm cool with it. All right.
Things that James is learning about himself during quarantine.
that
he's a believer.
That That new album is great. And I watched the YouTube doc on him.
Oh, did
on
you?
YouTube. Yeah. Which for anyone out there, dude, that is one of the best docs I've seen. I mean, up until I just watched the first 2 episodes of The Last Dance today, which
you know what?
is
I saw Never Say Never, that documentary that came out in theaters, and I was like really impressed. I was really impressed with the shit that he had to deal as a kid and stuff like that. So I can only imagine what this documentary was like.
Yeah, I've never seen it, but no, if you haven't watched it yet, 100% go over to YouTube, take a kick at it. It's 10 episodes, they're 10 minutes long. It's the quickest thing ever, which is why I thought it was so good. It was such a small, like it was in and out to the point. You know, there's this point in his life. Here's proof. Boom. Next one. Some of these TV shows and stuff, everyone just wants more money, so they're trying to drag it out, create more episodes, create more seasons, create more of this. It's just, I don't know. Ozark's gonna come back again. It's like, hey, let me like no spoilers, but here's a spoiler. The season 4 is they're gonna come close to dying and not die.
And not die. There you go. Yeah.
That's the season.
I agree with you. Well, I'm watching. Well, it was like Suits. I don't know if you ever watched Suits, but it's like how many times?
Same thing. Yes.
But it's like how much shit can you get in? You know they're gonna get out, and it's just like it loses its like its appeal at some point, right? There's only so much trouble you can get into. So
yeah, and for anyone that is watching Ozark and hasn't watched it yet or whatever, spoiler coming up. I would have needed Wendy to die at the end. I would have needed Marty to die at the end. I would have needed
a major character.
Yeah, man. Don't just, I knew that was coming. Of course, that was the most obvious thing to do.
So 2 other things I wanted to point out, just more of a comical thing. I think you can agree with me, and I think everyone can agree with us that we didn't appreciate our barbers or hairstylists enough because as you can tell, like I'm missing my weekly fades. I was going to wear my hat, but I want the people to know that the struggle is real and I'm not hiding it. So that's definitely one thing that I realized that I didn't say thank you enough to my barber. And the second thing is like, I've gone to the point that I'm forgetting if I brushed my teeth or not. And I hate it.
So this is way too much information and you might get a kick out of this. Okay. So in my adventures going north fighting fires, one of the quick things I learned is that bugs are very prevalent in the woods, which you would have known. And also bugs like the smell of cleaning stuff like shampoo or body wash, or so they like that smell, like that citrus scent. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I'm up north. I'm on my own all summer. You know, no one down here even was near me whatsoever. So no one I know my whole life was ever around me. So, you know, I may or may not have taken 4 months off of using all sorts of body wash. And by may or may not have, I mean I did. And so now I've really had to save myself a couple times from slipping back into that kind of style of life that I was living in the summer. Right. When it hits Friday night, you know, like there might not be some water hitting my body till Monday. I'm telling you, like this thing, we're suiting up for a long haul on the weekend inside, can't go anywhere. It's usually busiest. The grocery stores on the weekend, so usually I get that out of the way earlier. I mean, my ability to go.
I'll get to like 2-3 o'clock. I'll get to 2-3 o'clock, and I'll be like, "Did I take a shower this morning?" Like I can't remember. But the toothbrush thing is bad because like sometimes I don't know what your mentality is. Is it do you eat your breakfast and then brush your teeth because you're already gonna get your teeth dirty anyways?
Nah. Usually before.
Okay.
It depends. If you have time, it all depends, right? It's either,
this is like the whole like, do you put milk in or put your cereal in first, right? Sort of debate. But yeah, it's just been an interesting time learning about myself and trying to keep myself occupied. But I also think it's kind of brought us all back together. Like I love seeing all the Zoom chats that are happening now. I love when I go on my walks. And the people are so nice. I don't know if they're nicer now, but it's just like you walk, like, you know, normally you would walk towards someone and if they went 6 feet away from you on the walk, you'd be like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not, you know, why are you trying to get away from? But it's like out of respect. And the people are saying hi at the same time. It is kind of in a weird way, bringing us all together and tying us all back together, especially here in Guelph, I find.
Yeah, no, I have mixed feelings, but I'm excited for it to be over. I have a couple things that we'll talk about later that I'm a
Say that
little
for the
over
end.
with.
Say that for the end.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay, we got to jump into this documentary. Obviously, riveting stuff. Just to kind of give people a lay of the land here, we're talking about one of the greatest uh, uh, span career moments for any sort of athlete. We're talking about, the 95, the 98 season. Michael Jordan goes on to win 3 championships, wins 3 scoring titles in that time, 10 in total. He's a 2-time MVP, 3-time finals MVP. He's a 3-time first all defensive team. And the craziest thing about that span is he missed 0 games in that time. And he did this at the ages of 33, 34, and 35. Like, I was just like looking, like, it's absolutely insane. I mean, we don't really have to talk about the greatness of Michael Jordan. I mean, it's really obvious, his mystique and what he brings. But what I kind of wanted to ask you before we kind of dive into the first 2 episodes there is, what was your initial introduction to Michael Jordan? And then, I mean, where did it go from there?
My initial introduction was when I was younger. You'd be watching those like classics, NBA classics. It used to be on, what's it called? Not TNT. It was there's a Canadian version. It was Hardwood Classics on ESPN or TSN. It was like TSN 5 or 8 or something crazy.
The Ocho.
Yeah, the Ocho. It was on the Ocho. Actually, yeah. Peter LaFleur was throwing dodgeballs after the Game 6 NBA Finals.
Hey, there's you're 6 degrees of separation with Jason Bateman, right?
yeah, that's exactly it. No, like just seeing those game winners and a lot of the late playoff little tidbit highlights was more what I watched. I saw a couple full games again on those Hardwood Classics, but I never really got to have like that kind of front row experience, even from being at home, watching that television. Man, we've both been pretty we both believe it's the Kobe to MJ debate and it's the Magic to LeBron debate. And I think after those first 2 episodes, right? So my initial reaction was I originally stood on the stance of I think LeBron is the best basketball player all around ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm still on that stance. And I think that this documentary is going to actually provide good structure for that argument. Yeah. But the overall GOAT, early in those 2 episodes, man, I had a hard time
sticking up for LeBron.
Because everything that I fight for in Tom Brady was in Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't grow up in that time. And the most easy comparison I felt that one after watching those first 2 episodes are like, I'm like, oh, this is the Tom Brady of basketball. Mm-hmm. Like, this is what this is.
Right. No, my initial introduction to Michael Jordan, and I know people are going to say, like, I purposely say this or like, there's no way, but if you remember that Raptors team when they came out in their expansion year and they upset that Bulls team that I got, I think it was the 72 win team where they'd lost only 12 games or 8 games that season, and the Raptors happened to be that team. Like, that was one of my first introductions to NBA hoops and watching a basketball game, and I remember sitting there and watching with my dad. It was rookie Mighty Mouse Damon Stoudemire against, the perennial Bulls team that had just like come off a championship after championship. And at that point, like, I remember the reaction after it and like, oh my God. And they were cheering and it was like they'd won an NBA championship. And at that point I'd realized, oh, this was like a big deal. And obviously as I grew up and came to appreciate him, I actually was one of those people that didn't like Michael Jordan for the same reasons I didn't like Kobe Bryant. I remember when we had that conversation about Kobe, like, he was just so good and I hated those top dogs. I was always an underdog kind of guy, even like, especially cheering for like a team like the Raptors, right, at that time. But obviously as I got older, I came to appreciate him more. And then you hear the stories about his competitive drive, how he's able to turn that gear. And I mean, you're going to see that through this documentary, how, guys are winded in the fourth quarter and overtimes, and MJ's just able to go on this other level. And I think that's the thing that made MJ so special.
Yeah, dude, it's something that I think none of us got a real good look at. I think even when you were, even if you were older than both of us and you were watching basketball a ton in that era, I still don't think that you can look back on it like you can when you watch this documentary. Mm-hmm. This guy, he seems to be outerworldly, right? Like, you're saying that this kid is just competitive with his brothers. His brother's better than him. He loses to him all the time. He gets beat up by him and all this jazz. And then now doesn't make a high school team.
In his what is it? His junior year or senior year, right?
In his yes, or no, it was just
His
he didn't
sophomore
make
year.
it.
His sophomore.
Yeah, he didn't
Yeah,
make
he's
it
made his
till his
freshman, but
junior year.
some. Yep. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, and then now you hear like Roy Williams talk about him, and he's like, yeah, like we knew about Michael, and he came in, and then when he left, we thought he was the best player in the country. It's like,
Yeah.
This is one of these people that like LeBron had all of this already around him in high school. Everyone knew who's going to be number one. Oh my God, LeBron has all these expectations. Jordan may be the GOAT because no one ever thought he was going to be anything. I think that changes the whole narrative for us, because now when you hear the part that gets me the most, and when you hear about these guys is like, dude, Jordan got better so fucking fast.
Yeah.
Like so fast.
Yeah.
Like he improved on a weekly basis 4 years.
And I think we're gonna continue to learn that this guy was a lunatic in a sense, right? Like it was his psychotics to be the greatest of all time that made him so special, right? Like there's only a certain type of person, there's only a certain type of people that can fit in that mold or even pursue that passion and to want to be that great.
I agree, and I think we're doing Kobe Bryant an astronomical disservice by not having him in this conversation with Michael as opposed to LeBron, because LeBron and Jordan are not the same.
Right.
You look at some of those clips, man, when he's saying how he's hurt and then he goes back to UNC and he's playing pickup with a bunch of college kids.
Yeah. That's absurd.
LeBron would not be caught dead doing anything he wasn't told to do via injury. And if he was ever hurt, he would always, always, always say, give me 2 extra weeks. I don't need to play tonight.
I tweeted this last night, but I'm almost jealous of the people that only know the mystique of Michael Jordan and know very little about Michael Jordan, because to watch this documentary the first time and learn all these things, it's got to be so fascinating, right? And I think, I've listened to some of the producers behind this doc and the director, Jason here, who done a phenomenal job here so far. If you don't know his work, he did the Fab Five. He did the Andre the Giant doc, which if you haven't seen, I highly, highly recommend it. It's like a really, really good doc. Even if you know nothing about wrestling, and like the same sort of mindset applies to this, right? The less you know, the better, because you're just going to ravel in it so much more. I don't even know where I was going with this train of thought, but they were talking about, the NBA. If you didn't know, the NBA had been sitting on this footage for a very, very long time, right?
Yeah.
And people have been trying to nitpick and trying to get this thing going for forever. But at the end of the day, Michael Jordan was the guy that had to sign it off and say that it was okay, right? So he's been strategically in his defense. I mean, it was perfectly crafted, perfectly timed in that sense. But it wasn't until I think it was a 2016 All-Star game where they finally sat down to MJ and like, listen, we're approaching the 20-year anniversary of this championship team. We think it's time. And they made the pitch. MJ, I'm sure you've seen it on social media, but MJ found out that these guys are the same guys that made the AI doc. And he's like, I really like that doc. You got my blessing. Continue to go on and do this, right? So, there's some strategy involved with it. Obviously, during quarantine, it's even more ideal because we have nothing better to do. But I think MJ's realizing that, the rise of LeBron James, especially for those 30 and under, I would say, of putting him as the GOAT. And, look, MJ being as competitive as he is probably like, nah, we're not having that. Let's remind the kids who I really am.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree. I think that he is most certainly reading those comments. He sees that. He's noting who in the league thinks LeBron's better than him. He's noting who used to be in the league that thinks LeBron's better than him. He is one of those guys that I think would take that to heart. And dude, we're about to see a lot of stuff behind the scenes, apparently, at least from what Bill Simmons said. He said he saw the whole document. He thinks that it gets a lot worse. Jordan thinks people are going to think he's an asshole. He already came out and said that.
But the best footage was when he was reaming out his teammates, and we only got a snippet of that.
But man, this is so. I mean, in sports, okay, if you leave this documentary not liking Jordan for how he talks to his teammates, fuck you. Okay, fuck you directly.
Sorry, but if you have 6 championships, you can do what the hell you want.
Fuck you. Yeah, like all caps. Eat it, like, dude. And you on the completely. Such a minuscule level of this in the university of football. Even you saw me, man. You saw me on a daily basis. Be a complete asshole. Yeah. Like be a complete asshole. You have to be. That's just how sports are. To be competitive, to bring people out.
But like in retrospect, like I look at Kobe Bryant, I grew up thinking he was a complete asshole. I'm like, this is not the kind of person that I want to be. But then when all the dust settles and he retires, I'm like, you can't argue against the resume. What he did worked, right? And I think that's what you're gonna learn. I think Jordan's very naive to think that people are gonna think he's like he's horrible, but he might also be thinking that we kind of live in this day and age where people are overly sensitive and might think that this is too much, or the participation ribbon sort of analogy to all this. I guess we'll deep dive into episode 1 here, but before we do, I kind of want to know what your reaction and your takeaway just from the first 2 episodes have been overall. that says it all right there. That says it all right there.
I mean, initially, I need the next 8 now. Like, I think it's so good that you guys did that. They did the let go 2 episodes each week or whatever, because good, you should have put like a little bit of a restraining order on me. I understand that, but God, I want to see it.
It also builds a little bit of a monoculture, right? And we haven't really had this since Game of Thrones, where you have an episode and then you have a whole week to dissect it, do your Googles, do your wiki, all that sort of stuff, and have a conversation with people. I love the fact that, today I've had 6 or 7 different conversations about the documentary. Be like, oh, did you know this? Did you know that? What do you think of this? And we're missing that with a lot of these things because we're a binge culture now, right?
Yeah. No, and dude, like, I think that this might be the most viewed doc to date when it's all said and done. I mean, you think about the timing of it all. I mean, even the time of sports, right, where basketball's probably at its biggest in the past 10 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, and then no one has anything else to do except for watch this documentary. And for at least, I mean, the first 4 to 6 episodes will still have nothing to do. So this should be blowing the roof off for numbers, I would say.
Absolutely. Just perspective here from me, like more of like a nerdy filmy side, but like I've loved the storytelling so far. I don't think people understand how hard it is to be able to jump back and forth between present and then the past. I've just loved the fact that they've been able to flash back to that 97 season, keep us rooted in the the divorce of that season, but then also tell us the story behind Michael Jordan. Everything. Tell us the story behind Scottie Pippen. We're going to get to Rodman. We're going to get to Phil Jackson. Like, I don't think people realize how hard it is to do that in an editing suite or editing bay and be able to tell a successful story. Like Avengers Endgame is kind of a perfect example. You know how they had like the 4 separate storylines, but they were able to navigate and hop back and forth. And it's a really difficult thing. I want to say that the music of this documentary is on point.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say sound effects in general. I don't even know, music too, but just everything sound wise is like timing's perfect. Execution's perfect. Everything's good right now.
Well, when they opened up with All Around the World, like I was like in, like, you give me some Diddy right there, like All Around the World. I was just like, I'm done. And even the way they ended episode 1 with the Bulls intro, like that just gave me goosebumps. Like that was the perfect way to end it, right? So I appreciate the storytelling. Obviously all the emotions that you kind of deal with watching this thing, like you get really jittery and high, you feel bad, obviously with the Pippen stuff. And again, it's only 2 episodes. Like it's crazy. And people have been saying,
we need to stop you. You feel bad about the Pippen stuff?
I mean, we'll get to that. I mean, but I think in the moment, for someone that doesn't know the whole story, because eventually Pippen went on to make $20 million more than Jordan did throughout his NBA career. So I mean, it ended up paying out for him. But I mean, we'll get to that episode 2 part. But I mean, so episode 1, we're kind of given the introduction of what presented in front of us, this relationship between Jerry or Crumps, whatever you want to call him, and Michael Jordan and the 97-98 Bulls. And then we're also given MJ's backstory. And what I really like about what these guys have done with this doc is they've gone with the mindset that you don't know anything about Michael Jordan, right? And I like that because there is a lot of people that are going to go into watching this and know very little about Michael Jordan. And even for me, for someone that's read a lot like yourself, I was still surprised with a lot of the fun facts that were thrown around and things that I didn't know about. Obviously, like, the cocaine story right off the jump, the traveling circus or whatever they called it. I knew at that point, though, like in the doc, that everything, there was no holds barred. Like everything was on the table, and that's what I really want to talk. Like, we're going to get to the gambling at some point because everybody wants to know about that. But even just the fact that he acknowledged the cocaine and kind of threw some of his old teammates under the bus.
Dude, I don't know, man. So I already sent out a tweet about this, and I was like, I kind of made fun of it. I was like, if you are shocked by a late 80s, early 90s best professional sports team ever doing cocaine, then you should just stay inside forever and not leave your house.
Well, you don't know the 80s, obviously, right? If that's the case.
And yeah, like if that kind of information makes you feel bad, then you shouldn't go outside. You know what I mean? Like, let's get real, dude. These guys have millions of dollars. It was in the late 80s, early 90s. What do you mean? Of course. Yeah. I would expect nothing less.
Yeah. Even Jordan denying it, I have my speculations, you know?
Even Jordan saying that he didn't go into the room makes me, well, instantly I'm kind of like questionable. Second off, I'm like, my next point is, how many years did it take for you to get in the room? Because I know eventually you went in. So what year was it?
You're telling me a college kid wasn't a little bit curious just coming out of school, right? Like, especially he said there was girls in the room too. Like, come on, dude, we're all out there.
if I'm 22 and Charles Oakley looks me in the eye beside a big bag of blow or something, I don't know what I'm doing that night. Okay, it's Charles Oakley, bro. I'm just listening. He's the friggin' guy now. I don't know. The cocaine circus is fine. These guys were fine. They're pro athletes. It's the 80s and 90s. Shut up. Whatever.
Yeah. I guess so. We get into this documentary right now, and we find out that there's rifts between management and the players. Right, the players want to run it back again, but the management, Jerry Krause in particular, is ready for a rebuild. But we get into all that drama, and it's kind of obvious, but it's still kind of just hinted, and we don't know the extent of it. And then we get into Jordan's formidable years, right? His 82 championship win, hitting the game winner. And I think a lot of people don't realize that James Worthy was the guy on that team. Like, he's the guy. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he went number 1 overall in the draft that following year. So for a rookie to come in and hit that game-winning shot was such a big deal.
Let's not also forget that James Worthy is like an NBA legend.
Absolutely. They call him Big Shot James.
So we should definitely be like emphasizing these points. James Worthy was on the dock saying, I was better than Michael for 2 weeks and 3 years older. So it took 2 weeks for Michael to get better than the first overall pick. Okay, whatever.
That says a lot.
That says one thing there. Boom. Now you go over to Larry Bird, who's a Hall of Fame guy with however many championships, and he refers to Jordan as God.
Yeah.
Okay.
We call him basketball Jesus too, right? Like, that's another comment that he made,
there's
right?
Another one. And then when Magic Johnson goes, oh yeah, we all knew he was the best. It goes, okay, hold the fucking phone here. James Worthy, Larry Bird, and Magic Johnson just looked in a camera on a national televised thing, knowingly saying that Jordan was exponentially better than all of them.
Right. I think that's the most impressive thing is, like, when we saw the teaser trailer, we saw the people that were involved with this documentary. But then as you're watching this documentary and these guys show up, it just shows the level of respect that these guys had for him. And that's the hardest thing, right? You're not going to get everyone to love the same player. Like, Bill Laimbeer to this day still won't refer to MJ as the greatest player in the entire world, right? Like, he's on the LeBron James train of thought for that, but it just shows you that, you know, his peers had respected him so much, and they'd understand the level of insanity that this guy went through to be the greatest of all time, and there's no denying that he was.
Dude, that story that Dominique shared about him walking into the Hawks Laker room and telling Buddy to lace up his kicks and then drops 50 on him. This guy.
Well, even the story with Danny Ainge on the golf course, right? When they're shooting, and at the end of it, he's like, "Yeah, you better tell your buddy DJ to lace up." And we're talking about Dennis Johnson, Hall of Famer, right? Like, he made every all defensive team, right? It was just insane. Like, that's not something you just say.
Yeah, no, and that, I think that right away from the start of this documentary, it started making me kind of mold that narrative for Jordan, and it feels like no matter what, Jordan was going to be Jordan, whether it was baseball, whether it was football, whether it was basketball. It just seemed like basketball was just a way for him to become Jordan. And I think that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what differs him from, I think, everybody else. Everyone else had their eye on basketball. I think Jordan just had his eye on greatness.
Right.
I don't think he ever cared about, like, of course he loved basketball, and of course that was the main point. I understand that. I just mean, he would have found that love for something.
Right.
You know,
Right.
like that, he was going to be that no matter what. I don't think it mattered which way, wherever it went, you know, because it gets to the point now where this guy's playing 19 holes. He just wants to compete against you. That's all this
Right.
is. Every day, every moment, every hour, he wants to go find another competition. This is why he's a
Right.
gambling addict. This is why everyone paints that narrative picture. Oh, he's a gambler. He's a gambler. No. He likes winning more than anything.
That's the one thing I found amusing is that when I jumped on Twitter after, I saw people were like, this guy played golf in between games. And I'm like,
Yes.
yeah, like that was the level of competition. Like this guy did not like sitting. But I also made me think, you know, watching all those clips to Paris and stuff like that, this guy had no privacy in his life. So the golf course was probably the only opportunity for him to just kind of be in this environment where he wasn't being watched and he could just be himself and just hang out with his friends, right? So it kind of made sense for him to golf in his spare time. I just don't get like golfing like 2-3 hours before a game. Like that's wild to me.
I mean, it's something different, right? And it's even just talking about the fact that he was injured and then starts playing. He's like, you know how he said 2-on-2 and 3-on-3, like they're different levels of degree of difficulty. It's like, whoa,
Yeah.
dude, it's the same game. You just have another guy in there. Like,
right.
Why are you acting like 2v2 is a step above like rehab? It's like you shouldn't be doing any of that.
Yeah.
The competitive, like, I think if he had his cast on and you were alone in a court with him, you know, like if he had his foot in an air cast when he was a kid and you were alone in a court and said, let's play one-on-one, he would take his foot out of the air cast. I think he would.
Right.
Like he'd be like, okay, let's go. Like, whatever.
No,
I'll
I completely agree with you. I think, you know, besides all the other things that we've taken from this doc, there's obviously like a lot of life lessons in this thing. And the one thing that I found really interesting, because I found this kind of in my life, we're kind of going to get deep here, but, you know, Michael Jordan grew up in a very competitive environment, right, with his brothers. His brother, you know, in the doc said, like, I always wanted to be the best. And I was always the best. And even his father had said, like, his sons were just so competitive. And I was watching that and I could really relate to it because people always ask me, my friend circle, especially the guys that I grew up with, they're like, how have you been able to maintain this friendship for, you know, so long time? And I almost think that this kind of is something that you and I have too, is like, we're just so competitive. We want to be the best. We always want to be on top. And I think that if you surround yourself with people like that and you're sort of in that environment, it ultimately will bring the best out of you. And that's all you know from there going forward, right?
Oh, cut out there for a second.
Oh, did it? Oh, no.
Technical difficulties.
No worries. Hey, we're working with the bugs here. But what I was saying was just the idea of if you're surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals who always want to thrive and be the best, then that's what you're gonna ultimately get from yourself, right?
Yeah, and not going too far off topic, but splitting that into more of a quarantine point now too. I think that's something for, you know, I've done a little bit of reflecting on too myself, spending all this time alone. It's like you and I have shared that exact quote and phrase before, and we both firmly agree that we both really firmly believe who you are around is going to make up who you are. And that's kind of like a study, I guess, in a social stance. I should know that I have a sociology degree, but
oh, is that what you went to school for? Okay, right.
No, this is a good time to really kind of like revisit that, and I think it's a good time to take advantage of maybe making some goals and stuff too, you know, and really having, you know, you have all this free time and there's no one around you, so now kind of clear the books and focus on what you want, maybe.
The one thing I came away with it, just even after 2 episodes, was like, how many kids are gonna come out of this inspired and have a new mindset, a new mentality, and like, you know, a couple years down the road when we have our next NBA superstar in 15, 20 years, they'll be like, I saw that MJ doc. I saw the level of commitment and insanity that you have to go to in order to be great, and that's what inspired me. So I think that's something that's going to be really interesting to see over the course of the next couple of years of, you know, these guys like Muhammad Ali and Tiger Woods, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, how they will inspire people. Because, I mean, just after 2 episodes, again, just even after the first episode, you saw that it started at home and then eventually trickled its way down.
Yeah. And the one fun thing I noticed too that no one really ever points out, and I think talks about even in that first episode and the second episode, you see this relationship between Jerry Krause and, you know, Pippen and Jordan. And everyone's kind of, you know, oh, it's so brutal. Krause is shitty. Yeah, I'm with you. Trust me. I'm with the mainstream on that side. But let's applaud the fact that people that hate each other can be on the same team and produce championships.
Absolutely, 100%.
This is a concept that I think society and our generation has totally kind of disregarded. Like, dude, you can disagree. You can actually hate each other and still be successful together. Like remember the whole Shaq Kobe thing? Oh, they hate each other. They hate each other. Dude, it doesn't matter. When it came to basketball, they played basketball.
Right.
Jordan would make fun of this guy left, right, and center when he wasn't on the court and all that, and he would get pissed at him on that. But Jordan was like, I'm the player, so I'm going to play. And Krause was the GM, and that's going to be that. And when the fact that they allowed that kind of negative like exchanges, it was good because it was good to be like, okay, but you know what? They don't need to like each other. It's fine.
Right. No, like you don't want a bunch of yes men in your life, right? Like I think that's very important, right? Like you have to have you have to have the openness to open criticism in your life and being able to be judged or being told, no, that's not right, that's not wrong. Like even in the whole like Krause situation, like this is probably the only time I'll stick up for him. And even Simmons have talked about this too. But, you know, for him to want to tank that year that he hurt his ankle was probably the right thing to do. Like this guy had a 10% chance of ending his career. That is a business decision to make. You know, and that draft that year, your odds and probability in the top 7 were all equal. Like now it's all percentages, right? Like if you have if you have 15% chance to win the first pick, you have a 20% whatever. But back then, if you were at the bottom 7, you all had a fair chance to get the first pick, right? And if the Bulls had lost that last game against the it was the Pacers or the Bucks. I can't remember which team it was. But if they had lost that game, they would have had a chance at either Len Bias or Bill Daugherty. Like they would have had even more weapons for MJ in order to succeed. So in that scenario, everybody thinks Krause is not competitive and he doesn't want to win. But it's actually, he did want to put them in a better position to win.
No, exactly. And I think too that, you know, that the fun narrative for us at home is to talk about how shitty Krause is. But if there was some alternate article that I once read down the line that said Krause made MJ and Pippen hate him to force his team to be, you know, more integrated. Because if you don't think that these guys are like in this film in front of us banding together against their own GM, then you're crazy. Like these guys are coming closer because of this.
Right.
This is going to be a tight knit group because they got no one to trust even in their own organization.
Yeah, maybe Jerry's rolling around in his grave and he's laughing.
I'm just saying.
He's cheersing.
his hands are full of rings, so who fucking, you know, I mean, that's all I'm saying. That's all.
That's the thing. You know, I read a really interesting tweet that, you know, Jerry actually didn't get enough credit for what he did, but the problem is he wanted way more credit than he actually deserved, right? Yeah. So that's like an interesting way to look at it as well.
Which is like, it's very, very funny to look back to, and people, I guarantee no one understood that the Bulls were still intact and didn't need to disassemble, but they did.
Right.
And then that's something that we should have also kind of seen with Golden State a little more earlier, I think. Even just you and I specifically. We should have kind of tested the old history books on that one because it's going to end.
Right. So the first episode ends with, you know, kind of a glimpse of MJ in his rookie season. Obviously, he gets I think it was 87 Rookie of the Year. Oh, sorry, 85 Rookie of the Year. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything we missed prior to that. We kind of see his dorm life. He says he doesn't drink, do drugs, smoking. Obviously, I really appreciated that when I heard that. When I saw that, I was like,
I'm still a little questionable.
But he wins Rookie of the Year, and then we fall into the injury, and we kind of addressed that already. MJ goes behind the team's back, and he kind of starts working out, and and then we jump into the Bulls intro ring ceremony, and then that's kind of just how it ends, and it's just like it's overwhelming, right?
The intro song and that whole scene there, you're just like my blood was flowing. I don't know.
Right.
I was like, whoa, this is crazy.
Well, and some of the other funny stuff that happened in this first episode was we saw the Pairs player asking for his armband after the game. And like, again, like you're in a competitive environment where they were playing in a championship game, but like the celebrity of Michael Jordan just overtakes all of that at the end of the day. Right. And these players are fans of the legend and the GOAT who he is.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. He looks like an outer-worldly figure kind of walking around. Before even like that was kind of a normal thing to do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think now with the social media and stuff, that's another thing that is so incredible. Like this guy one, created fashion via shoes, basically created it.
Yeah.
And two, became a global icon, household name with absolutely no social media.
Well, that's, I think, go ahead.
Not even sound bites. Not even sound bites. It wasn't like there was a speech. There was no, it was just that he showed up every night and he made the other person want to quit basketball. That was it.
I think that's one interesting thing that we're going to watch throughout this doc is the media back then compared to what it is now with social media and how they handled it. And it's just like, it's crazy because like, I've always been on record to say like, would MJ have survived in the social media area given his, his obsession with gambling, his relationship with his father? Would it have been exponentially blown out of proportion, and would it have gotten in his head at some point? I think he was one of the beneficiaries of not having to be in this sort of era, right?
I think of course, but I also think in the same thing, vice versa. Like, would other guys be way more crazy back in the day? Like, would LeBron be good guy LeBron without social media?
That's actually very true. That's really a good point. So then we hop into episode 2, and this one is kind of like dubbed the Pippen episode, and we kind of learn really quickly how selfless Pippen is. For me, Pippen was, I didn't appreciate him till his later years, kind of like AI. I've talked about this before, where AI, like I knew that he was good, but then, going back and looking at his size and all the injuries he endured and all the tools that he didn't have that some of the other players had, like it just made me appreciate him a lot more. And kind of with Pippen, right? You see that he's like this athletic freak. He's obviously very smart on the court. And that all kind of gets shown through the course of the second episode.
Pippen felt a lot like Kawhi to me.
Yeah, I think that's the comparison, right? If you make one.
I think it is, because defensively, and it also made me think about the Miami double threat in a vice versa situation. Like Jordan was Dwayne Wade and Pippen was LeBron. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like on that Bulls team, Jordan was the 1, Pippen was the 2, and on the Heat team, LeBron was the 1, Dwayne was the 2. And I think that those kind of exact situations would just be kind of flipped, like Jordan would score when you needed him to score. Jordan would play hard defense and do all that stuff. Yes. But Pippen was like, okay, who's their best scorer? I'm going to lock that guy down. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get you some boards. I'm going to get you some steals and some definitely some assists as well. He led the team in assists and steal, I believe, for at least 2 years, at least with Jordan. And then obviously.
Yeah, the 2 years that MJ departed for the White Sox to chase his baseball dreams, Pippen was number 1 in all the stats that you just mentioned. Yeah. He also was 3rd in MVP voting, and he won an All-Star MVP in those 2 years. So I mean, that just shows that Pippen was very capable of carrying his own team if he had given the keys to run his own team, right?
And we never saw him in his best time to do that either. And I think Dennis Rodman, I mean, he has that kind of soundbite, right? Where once Jordan left, the best player in the NBA was Scottie Pippen.
Mm-hmm.
And man, it's tough to argue. It's very tough to argue, because you're going to try and tell me that someone in a completely different mental state, if Pippen came in alone without no Jordan, that changes everything. That changes everything.
Yeah.
And maybe Pippen isn't as good because he's so unselfish and actually needed to get on a team where he didn't need to score the most.
Right.
Maybe he's not as good coming into the league being like dependent on more right away. But dude, you got to give it up for that guy. I mean, the upbringing he had and the stuff he was faced up against.
One of 12 kids. I never knew that. He was one of 12 kids. Can you imagine living in a household like that?
Dude, and having 2 wheelchairs in the household as well.
Right.
That's not simple for anybody.
No. He
being able to go out. Dude, this guy was an equipment manager.
That story's crazy, right?
What?
Like, yeah, like he got lucky, right? Because guys had fallen out because they'd flunked out in his grades or whatnot, and he was able to take advantage of an opportunity like that. It's absurd. And did he shoot up like 7 inches in like 2 years or something like that? It was absurd. Yeah. Like, it's insane.
I think it was like 5 inches over the summer and then 2 inches by the end of the year again or something.
Right.
Which is that's just ridiculous.
Stupid luck. That's just good genes, man. Things I would have done with height like that.
Oh man.
But yeah, like obviously we're not going to get the full scale deep dive on these guys, but Pippen had and maybe this is what you were alluding to earlier, but Pippen had a very successful career post the Bulls era too. Obviously, injuries had caught up with him too, but he had a stint with the Rockets. Unfortunately, didn't pan out as well with Hakeem and Charles Barkley. But he played with a Portland team that like was always in the thick of things, right? It went to the Western Conference Finals several times, but unfortunately ran into his old coach and the Kobe Shaq duo. So he still was able to flourish past his quote unquote prime, right?
Yeah, no, and I think that we like this is opening our eyes to an era of basketball and a style of elite players where winning was the focus. And
right.
I think Ryan Russillo said it best. There are a lot of guys today, they want to win, but they also just want to win for Instagram. They just say they want to win Instagram. Like, dude, you can see in these clips, if you have Jordan and shit, like nothing else matters than winning this basketball game. And I think Pippen, this guy was so unselfish. And when he came into the league and he was like, they talked about him having a bit of a bigger head when he was a freshman and then kind of got put into place by like Oakley and all those guys. Like, I think he saw this and was like, all right, I can be second fiddle to this guy and be the best version of myself. And we can also do some great things here. So let's just put aside everything else, lock up a contract. He locked up his security for his financial wealth of his own family, again, who had to deal with these two.
Absolutely.
When you come from poverty, right, and you take this deal, I don't really feel bad for him for taking the deal because I think you just got to be smarter on your own. If you think about things more, 7 years is just dumb. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I also don't blame him. He was like, dude, I'm coming from nothing. My family needs money. You're telling me I can lock up seven years for money? Let's go. Sign a paper for sure. So it doesn't surprise me that his unselfishness kind of took him that route. And it sucked because if we would have seen his worth, if he would have seen his worth earlier, I think he would have probably left the Bulls and they might not have 6 rings.
Right. No,
I think everything happens for its reason,
No, and like he came from the dumps of Arkansas, right? Like you're absolutely right. Like this is the first time he would see money on that sort of scale on that level. And if you have a family to support like that, especially with that many people, right? Like your first train of thought. And again, it goes back to the whole selfless thing that I'd said right off the jump. Like it just shows how forward thinking he was of other people as opposed to himself. It just kind of makes you definitely make you appreciate him a lot more. But like I said, like he eventually ended up making more money than Jordan throughout his playing career. So it kind of played out right.
When someone's that good, it's like they're gonna get that paycheck. I mean, look at Chris Paul right now. It's a perfect example. You're
no, because there's no doubt that in today's era, like Pippen would have definitely been a max player. Like there's no shout of a doubt with his skill set, his length, his versatility. Like you're paying that man, but it kind of also makes you appreciate guys like Klay Thompson a lot more too, right?
Of course. I mean, I think this should hopefully bring that youth kind of to think about winning first again after watching this documentary, I'm hoping for. And then 2, being like, okay, like there's an importance to having a fit in team and sports. There's importance to having that like certain role guys. You had the Robin, you had the Pippen, you had the Kerr, you had the big men that came in and did their job as well. But these guys were like, it's just everything today now is all about us.
Yeah.
It's all about us. When you get recruited, when you get drafted, what's good for me? What's good for me? None of those fucking guys asked that. They just said, what do you need?
Right.
And who was the big man in the Chicago Bulls golf shirt, white shirt? He's in like a movie theater in the documentary.
Bill Wellington.
Yes. So he has like a small soundbite at one part where Jordan's yipping everyone at practice. And Bill says like, well, it was either Jordan, we played harder for Jordan or Jordan told us to get the fuck out. And he had no problem saying, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Then it
well,
was
you even saw it in that small clip, right? Like this guy's reaming out Ron Harper, who's a respected guy, Tony Kukoc, who's like probably one of the nicest guys, right? He's dubbed the MJ of Europe, kind of like Luka is now, right? But he just didn't care whose feelings it was either you're with us or not with us mentality, right? And if you're not with us, get the hell out of the room.
And those are the things that Jordan and Kobe did. Like when other players walked on the court, they realized this isn't my court. I'm only here because I'm allowed to be here via him, and I'm going to work my ass off until he tells me not to. That's like,
right.
And everyone's all, well, I don't want to play second fiddle or this, or I can have a team, or I should get this money and I should get that. Dude, you have to respect the straight up passion for work these guys had. work.
Right.
Just work.
Yeah. It was definitely a stroke of luck for Bulls that they were able to land on somebody like Pippen who had that mindset, right? Because, I mean, again, they had to trade for that pick, right? Yeah. Initially, Pippen had gone to the Seahawks, not Seahawks. Wow, the Sonics. That's how long we've been without a Seattle basketball team.
Which would have been a fun little alternate universe we could have lived in there, because I think Ray Allen and him would have crossed paths eventually, which would have been an interesting little team.
Well, you know what? It's I was looking back at it. They drafted Kemp 2 years later, and then eventually got Gary Payton as well. But who knows how good or how bad this Sonics would have been with to get those sort of picks. But yeah, definitely there's a lot of interesting what ifs, right? Like I even think about I can't remember. I'll come back. I know I haven't written down these notes. I'll probably come across it. Dude, I have like 2 pages worth of notes. It's like wild. That's the one thing about this doc that made me appreciate it so much. It was that I actually wasn't on my phone at all. I was like fully diving this thing. And at the same time I'm on my laptop and I'm just typing away notes, and I can't remember the last time I did something like that for this. So
watching the doc was the first time I lost my phone all quarantine. I actually couldn't find it. I was like, I didn't even matter.
That's amazing.
I was just like, nothing else is happening in the world right now other than this footage.
Like I saw Gabe was like live tweeting during that. I'm like, how can you be live tweeting during this thing? He's gonna hate me for saying that, but I was like, there's no way.
I'm gonna have Gabe's back on this one because he is a man of the people, and he actually has a pretty good follow on Twitter, and he also is a good he's a very, very good tweeter. I don't know if that's the proper phase for it, so I'm down for Gabe to live tweet stuff. That's fine.
All right, here to hear, Gabe. Your biggest fan is James Roberts. So we get past the Pippen stuff. We kind of get more into more of the Cross and Jerry Cross and the Pippen tension. It's like no secret. And Pippen's calling him on the bus. Even Phil Jackson has to, tell him to pipe down and like leave it alone. Pippen threatens to not play, in that last season, the 97-98 season, for their second dynasty or second three-peat, sorry. And then we kind of get back to MJ, and we see the house that he's brought up in, and we kind of alluded to that earlier. But then we see some of Jordan's legendary moments, right? We see the game where the crazy thing is the 7-minute restriction on each half. Like, how crazy was that they actually had a blowhorn that every time the 7 minutes had gone up, they'd blow it, and he had to come out of the game.
Well, like you're talking about a time, dude, where, the actual way for us to figure out what the injury was or how long it could hurt, these guys probably didn't know that well. It probably wasn't that accurate, Right. So we're probably dealing with a much worse injury than we actually know.
Right.
Like I would have to imagine that this injury, I mean, when they talked about that 10% could be career ending, I mean, so, okay, hold up. I've never heard of that. So I don't know what he had going on.
Mm-hmm.
But the 7-minute thing, I mean, there's your first example of load management, I guess.
Yeah.
The 7 minute and a half. Dude, it makes sense to me. If your whole franchise is invested in one guy and he's hurt, I wouldn't have let him play. But
I just said that too, right? Like that was the only time I think you could defend him, right? You have, arguably even at that time to think that this guy could be the greatest player ever, and you're going to jeopardize that over one season. It just doesn't make any sense, right?
No, I don't think that. We fault Jerry Krause for what he was trying to do, or any of those guys what they were trying to do. I think that was the right move, 100%. I think that if Jordan didn't do that, Jordan's story about being Jordan is less Jordan-like, though.
Mm-hmm.
So for our own sake, I'm glad that did happen.
Yeah. But obviously, Jordan misses the final minutes of that game to get a playoff berth, right? If they win, they lose. And what was it? It says here, I have written down that 30 seconds left. MJ's yanked versus the Pacers for minute restriction. And Krause wants to lose, obviously. He'd miss the playoffs for a better draft pick. And the head coach at the time, I haven't written down here, but, he was in jeopardy too. If he put Jordan back into the game, he was threatened to lose his job. Luckily, Jim Paxton comes into the game, and he's able to hit the game. John Paxton comes into the game, hits the game winner, and the Bulls are able to get their first taste of playoffs. And then we see the glimpses and, one of Jordan's shining moments and one of his most memorable moments where he drops 49 points in game one, right? And then the famous golf story with Ainge, and he warns Ainge, to give DJ a sort of heads up. And then he goes in that game and he drops 63 points, You know, he puts DJ in foul trouble in the third. Bill Walton fouls out. Like, that was one of the funnier moments. You can see how pissed Bill Walton was, right? That he kept getting switched on to Jordan. He does this in double OT. You know, one thing I learned that wasn't in the stock is, so Jordan got fouled on a 3 at the end of the fourth quarter. And so he got sent to the line. But the rules back then were if you hit the free throws that tied the game, you didn't finish the rest of the free throws. So they were down 2. He hit the first 2 free throws, and that automatically sent them to overtime, as opposed to him hitting the third free throw and ending the game. So that's an interesting what if, because if he had dropped 63 and won that game, what would that mean for the rest of the series and, you know, like, right, moving on? So that was an interesting thing that I found out after.
Yeah, the coolest part about that little clip of the 63 points or the 49 points is that you can stage a documentary a lot, right? You can stage it and you can make it tell you what you want to say. You know, you can provide the clips that'll show you what you need and what you're talking about. Dude, all those guys were looking at each other like, how the fuck do we guard this dude?
Yeah. Like, you can see it on their faces.
Like, no one was like, everyone was looking around Scottie like, no, does anybody know? Like, UK, now you try down the floor next time. All right. Okay, Ainge, you have like, someone try something. Like, right. They were all legitimately, even Rick Carlisle. You see his face?
Yeah, his is it turned into a meme. Like, it was like screenshotted everywhere, right? Yeah.
I don't know. I've never seen a professional sports team look so dumbfounded on how to figure someone out. Like, they're just confused.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing that they didn't note in that episode was he didn't hit a single 3-pointer in that game to get 63. And in today's NBA, you can't get 63 without hitting a couple of threes.
In today's NBA, you can't be a guard and leave the court without hitting a couple of threes.
Yeah, and being called basketball Jesus to end it, right? No, it was a crazy way to end the game. It kind of just puts you kind of on the high Michael Jordan, and then it obviously ends in dramatic fashion with Pippen requesting a trade in November in that final season.
We should also kind of note, too, that Larry Bird makes a bit of a point at the start. Larry Bird's, what, 6'8"?
Yes.
So he's 6'8". McHale was 7 foot, right?
Mm-hmm. Close to 7 foot
as well. Yeah. Walton's 7 foot as well. And then you have Ainge and DJ, whatever. They're both 6'2", 6'3". So to put it into terms of, like, real life time, that's basically the equivalent of, like, an Anthony Davis, JaVale McGee, LeBron James, kind of like 3-person matchup.
You have 4 Hall of Famers on that team. 4 Hall of Famers.
But I'm speaking to a point of height and size. If you guys can picture, so this is to your point about the jump shots. So when you go watch an LA game in today's day and age, and they run a 2-3 zone or they're playing defense, they look pretty weird on defensive end because, like, they're huge. They're all 7 feet tall. They're all long. They cover the court. The court doesn't look very big. Now bring that back in the day when the 3-point line wasn't used. So now you have three guys that are 6'9" plus in the key where Jordan scores all of his points on a 63-night performance. It changes the whole narrative even more when you think about it. And
mind-blowing.
This is fighting the whole, like, in today's game and in that day's game, you know? Jordan was going against the first 3 buckets of the clips you see, he's taking jump shots over 7-footers.
Right.
63 points.
Like, elevating. Like, it's just the airtime that he got on his jump shots are unreal.
And all of these guys, after each possession, are looking around at their teammates. Like someone just stole their wallet, you know?
Yeah, like, what else do you want me to do? I'm literally doing everything I can, right? Yeah. No, I totally agree with you.
You literally see Hall of Fame basketball players look stupid.
Yeah. And this is a team. You're talking about one of the greatest basketball teams of all time, right? Like, this is not just your Joe Blow, right? Arguably one of the greatest basketball teams of all time.
You know, 20% of basketball fans on the earth think that that's the best team ever.
Mm-hmm. They're all Celtics fans, but yeah. Exactly. That kind of just sums up the first 2 episodes. Obviously, there's been snippets going around about episodes 4 and 5. We're going to get into Dennis Rodman, which should be for entertaining television. I'm really looking forward to that. The Bad Boy Pistons, which, you know, Dennis Rodman and those Bad Boys Pistons kind of go hand in hand. So I'm sure those 2 episodes will kind of gel in with one another. And then obviously the Zen Master himself, Phil Jackson, will come into play. Any parting thoughts after the first 2 there?
No, I've had the pleasure of reading Phil Jackson's book. Outstanding, and I can't wait to get more into him because I think he's an interesting piece that people are gonna like, and he's one that goes on forever too because he goes to LA later as well. So
Yeah, he hit the lottery, get another dynasty out of those guys. So
I'm hoping we get a bit into his style of coaching, because I do think that, you know, we forget him on the best ever.
Yeah.
As far as coaches go and minds go,
I think, you know what's interesting, like this is 10 episodes, so you think it's a lot, and maybe in your head you'll think that, you know, there's going to be points or moments in this doc where, you know, it's too much, or they could cut this out. But I think we're going to come away from this doc thinking like, I wish they had more on Phil Jackson. I wish they had more on Pippen. I wish we had more on these other guys, because there's so many interesting divots and caveats for a lot of these guys, right?
If you haven't read the book yet, I actually have it here, so I'll lend it to you.
Okay. Tyler Hummel's laughing right now because he knows I hate to read. So we'll see if that happens. I might need an audiobook, dude. I was gonna say an audiobook. I gotta get an audiobook for sure. But yeah, that's kind of a wrap on that. Obviously, really looking forward to the rest of this series, and yeah, I'm stoked, man. I'm living for Sundays now again.
I haven't been this locked in since Entourage, and Entourage is my all-time favorite TV show. So.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Entourage is a good show to binge watch if you haven't seen it yet. I felt like there was one more thing I wanted to talk about in that, but I mean, we could talk about the doc all day.
That's some of the best. Like, I can't wait to see more. I want clips, you know, like I want practice footage. That's what I want the most. I want all that.
Yeah. So that one thing I was going to say is we only got like a very small tease of, you know, everybody's been talking about all this footage that NBA's archiving and, you know, been holding back hostage, and we haven't seen it yet. Like, we're getting so much more, right? Like, what we've gotten is just stuff that we've already seen, right? Yes. So, I mean, anticipate that. The crazy thing that I read about this was, you know, this documentary was supposed to release in June. They obviously pushed it up to, you know, meet the demands and needs of all the people that are thirsty for sports content right now. They haven't even finished episode 10 yet. And they were saying that it probably won't even be done till episode 8 drops, which is insane. Like speaking as a videographer, like, it is not easy to edit during quarantine, especially when you have such a large team that needs to sit in on the edits. So, I mean, kudos to, you know, the team, the director, Jason Ayre. Like I said before, he did the 5-5 doc. He did the Andre the Giant doc, and I know there's going to be like a lot of people clamoring for content to watch over this time, and like, again, I cannot recommend those more. If you're wanting MJ content, and I think I talked about this on one of the podcasts, is there's something called Unbanned: The Legend of AJ1, and it talks about the very first Air Jordans that came out and all the trouble that went into having those released, and the colorways and all that sort of stuff. I can't recommend that more if you're clamoring for more content right now with MJ, because I know everybody's probably sitting on the internet looking up for MJ stuff right now.
Dude, but can't blame them. Go search up a random game, not even a playoff game, not even
rewatch a game,
not even a known game, just a, you know, week 8, 1996.
I couldn't agree with you more.
I guarantee you're not disappointed.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. All right, I can't let this podcast go without talking a little bit about the draft, because I'm actually going to watch the draft this year. I usually just like live through Twitter because I can't bear the 3 or 4 days of NFL draft that's coming. But I particularly want to talk about this draft because you're familiar with the quarterback position, correct? You there, James?
Football once.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. You got it? Okay.
One time.
Yeah, you throw a football a couple times, right? And there's a lot of great quarterbacks in this. Well, I mean, we're going to find out if they're great quarterbacks, but between Burrow, Tua, Herbert, Love, Fromm, Hurt, what are you looking forward to? And with those quarterbacks, I mean, who is your kind of sneaky good pick? And then who's the one that you're probably not feeling so great about?
Okay, I'm going out on a limb here a little bit.
Woo! The hot takes, I like it.
So you know this before, and I used to do this much better. And I used to, when I was growing up and playing football and trying to go to university, I followed quarterbacks, every single one that was older than me, anyone that was worth anything. You were getting followed, you were getting known. I was going to watch your combine tape. I was going to watch all this stuff, right? So my quarterback background scouting has gotten worse over the years because I'm not involved in football anymore. So that being said, I do want to get back to that at some point in my life. 5 years ago.
What, at being bad at picking quarterbacks?
No, being better at it.
Okay.
I think I've been a little poorer the last couple of years, but Joe Burrow to me is not a lock to be a elite NFL quarterback.
Okay.
When you have so much talent at the college level at receiver, just questions pop up to me. Do you know what I'm saying? That when you're throwing to guys that are always open, it's just not good. And
yeah,
Joe Burrow by no means is. I'm not saying like he's not going to be good. He's going to be a name in the NFL for the next 10 years for sure, whether it's like a backup role or whatever. He'll get thrown around because he has the ability to make every throw. His arm strength is stupid. Arm talent's dumb. Legs are good. But he feels a little Mariota-ish to me.
Oh, okay.
He feels
that hasn't panned out so well.
The way that they were reading that offense at LSU, everything looked a little too quick and a little too predetermined. So if you see him roll into Cincinnati and let's say they move, AJ, I can't remember his last name now.
AJ Green.
Yeah. If they moved AJ Green, right? If they moved on from that and they didn't surround him with a ton of help, I could see him throwing a bunch of picks this year. I wouldn't, a dark horse, fun little bet you could make. If he's in Cincinnati and he gets full rain green light week 1, he could throw 25, 26 picks this year for sure. I think he's going to make a bunch of mistakes.
Those are some Jameis numbers.
Yeah, but I think that's good, and I think he needs to stay level-headed as he has, and hopefully he will continue. But I have a bunch of worries about a Mariota-ish style of player. I think he's not going to be able to fill the shoes that we expected of him.
Sorry, just to go off that point, one of the great things that ESPN did was they played a bunch of Paint Places episodes prior to the documentary. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about Joe Burrow and, Joe Burrow went out his way to call Peyton Manning and ask him for some advice. And he said, don't be afraid to break my interception record because it ended up actually benefiting me, right?
Right. So the biggest worry right now with Joe Burrow for me is that, how everyone has that age talk, right? What is he, 23?
Yeah, he's basically, he's like
Lamar
a 3 or 4.
Age.
He'd be a 3 or 4 year vet at this point, right?
Right. So when you tell me that someone that talented is 23, I think you're at your best.
At that age.
So Tua's not at his best. Justin Herbert, not at his best. Jordan Love, not at his best. None of these guys are at their best. Jordan Burrow's at his best. Mm-hmm. So if Jordan Burrow's best at LSU can translate to the NFL and work, then Joe Burrow's going to be great. But I don't know how much better he's going to get.
Yeah. That's actually a really good point.
I don't know how much better, and that's kind of, if you're Cincinnati, he's not Andrew Luck, Mm-hmm. Andrew Luck was so good that everyone was like, oh, if he never gets any better tomorrow, like we're good. We can make this work. Like this is going to be fine. I don't know, man. I think Joe Burrow's the kind of guy that's going to need a better team than the Cincinnati Bengals, and they seem to be the one who's going to take him.
Yeah.
He'll need a better surrounding cast to be better. I think the best player in the draft is Chase Young.
Okay.
I don't think that's even close. Chase Young, that defensive end. If Cincinnati takes him first overall, they're doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like this is a dude that is J.J. Watt like. He's a Jadeveon Clowney like. He's going to be that kind of style of guy for you. He's going to change your defense the first day for sure.
Yeah.
Sleeper pick from the quarterback position, Jordan Love would be going to the Patriots if he finds that right
I want the
fit.
Saints to get him so bad.
I don't see that happening too much.
Yeah, me neither.
There's a lot of buzz for Chargers and Tua. That makes no sense to me. That's very stupid. I think.
Wait, I think it makes sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense to me. Tua's a project, and he needs a better veteran quarterback to be ahead.
I agree with you, but I think it puts butts in seats. I think people will want to go see Tua play because, he was, highly touted. He was to be the best quarterback in this draft. Obviously, injuries are now playing a factor in that. But I think the Chargers, their concern right now is being able to fill that new stadium up. And if you have Tua on the ticket, stamped, labeled with, signs, whatever it may be, I think people will want to go see if he's the real deal or not.
It's interesting, man. When you dislocate your hip, dude, I got questions, right?
Yeah.
there's a ton of questions surrounding that as well. Of course, that's not a very good sign to have that early. Is Tua better than Tyrod Taylor? Dude, Tyrod Taylor's all right, man.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you.
If Tua goes to the Chargers, now you have to kind of push him ahead to get the seats, right? Like you're saying the fans want to see him. So now it's going to be like a Baker Mayfield, Tyrod Taylor thing back in Cleveland. Tua doesn't seem like the guy. Okay, so every year we have to, quarterbacks always get higher stock because teams need a quarterback. And I think in the past couple of years, we've started to see people grab people in free agency and have success. So now I hope to see that the GMs and these guys kind of rethink this, okay? And if you're taking a quarterback with the first 5 picks, okay, that's a swing for the fences. You shouldn't be taking swings each year. You shouldn't be taking swings every 2-3 years. These have to be people that you meet in person, that you get to know, that you see at the combine, that you see in real life, that you see move in front of you. Just because of this quarantine alone, if I'm a Dolphins GM, I'm out on Tua.
Well, yeah. I mean, Bill and Ryan were talking about this, the fact that, you can't, I mean, there's speculation that some of these teams are secretly sending doctors to see these players because you're not supposed to. But that's the hardest part about this, right? Like you can't do your checks on these players to find out if they're healthy or not, how bad that hip is. And this draft is more interesting than any draft of the past because of the lack of communication and the ability to go out and test those players on your own, right?
Miami is the most fun spot that everyone's kind of liking Tua to go to. I think that'd be a mistake. Miami's my favorite outing for Miami would be signing Cam Newton.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, there's a lot of discussions about teams trading down, right? So if they get rid of that pick, maybe you might be right?
Well,
and I think that's one of the reasons why Cam hasn't found a team yet. I think a lot of teams are trying to get through this draft to figure out if they need a quarterback or not.
Cam will have a team by next week because we're gonna find out Thursday who needs Cam right away. So then he's gonna have phone calls Friday morning. I think this Justin Herbert guy from Oregon. I don't know if you remember, D, but you could pull this probably back out in the archives. I would say that
archives. Wow.
It's like one of those word verbism thing. Whatever.
Edinburgh.
I want to say like episode maybe 50 or 60 or maybe even earlier. I got a shot to watch this Herbert kid like 2 years ago at Oregon play a big. I think it was like what are they, a Pac-12 championship game or something like whatever it was. And
against Michigan?
No, I can't remember who they were facing.
Okay.
But I remember watching him make every single throw, and like he looked like a complete baller. Everything I saw from him was like super raw, super competitive, potentially really good.
He passes the Iceman eye test,
100%. And until Trevor Lawrence came, that was the year before Trevor Lawrence. So that should be able to do our math for us and figure out when this was. But that was the year before Trevor Lawrence came and then blew everyone out of the water because Herbert went into that offseason. Everyone was saying, whoa, this Oregon kid, okay, we just saw him throw 60 yards on a rope. What was that about? Let's look into this. And then Trevor Lawrence came in and won the BCS. And then, Herbert kind of had a storyline in Oregon, you would know about him. But other than that, you wouldn't. I like him, man. I think if he goes to the right team, if you want your Saints to have a good future.
I just don't – he won't be available by then.
He won't be available by then, but he needs to – because if the Dolphins take him at 5 –
a lot of people are saying that, right? Dolphins are the favorite to land him.
So I'd rather – Miami looks really good right now because of what they've done in free agency, and I want you to just draft some good skill players and develop them, and then go get Cam Newton in free agency too, because I think you can get a lot in free agency right now, and because you can, and because this quarterback market is kind of hit or miss, and you're not really that sold. Like, you want to give a 5th pick to Herbert? Dude, I'm all for Herbert being a first-round pick, but a 5th pick? I don't know. Top 10 for me, that's tough. You got to be real damn good. So, well,
especially in a division now that you don't have to deal with Tom Brady, right? Like, that this is the time that you kind of want to be able to swing for the fences.
100%. I think if Tua goes to the right place and everything works out and everything, he's healthy, he'll be the best quarterback from this draft if he's healthy. I don't think he's healthy, though.
What do you think of Fromm and Hurts? I've always been high on Fromm.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember Aaron Murray back in the day.
The name sounds familiar.
Okay, if you want me to make a shitty comparison for you that'll make you feel worse, Fromm's Mark Sanchez.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you don't want to be compared to that.
You know what I mean? From's Mitchell Trubisky. He can go 8-8 in a season with a good defense if you want. You know, like that's kind of.
So when you say that, I think of a quarterback that like just does like he plays on the reads. Like he's not able to improvise and make like he has to do the first play that's given to him, and if he's not able to improvise.
Yeah, he's your Alex Smith. He's your he's your guy that he's
the check down quarterback term that you love.
No, no one is a check down fucking quarterback. He's Case Keenum. He's that the Alex Smith style where if the game's not line in the fourth, I don't know how I'm not cozy,
Mm-hmm.
But biggest upside of this draft by far, I think, is Herbert. Man, this guy, I'm telling you, he used to throw that football around like a damn baseball. Like this thing comes out of his hand different. It's strong and that strength in the arm lasts. He's gonna make all the throws. He's gonna throw some picks, but he's also gonna get away with a lot of bullshit because of how strong his arm is.
So you didn't give me any opinion on Hurts. Runner up for the Heisman, obviously Alabama transfer. Oh, okay, sorry.
So the big three right now that I got the most love, I think, are Burrow, Tua, and Herbert. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
They're the projected top three to come off the board.
Right. And I think Herbert has the best career out of the three of them.
Okay.
I think if Tua is healthy, he has the best career out of the three of them. And I think Burrow has the second best no matter what. He's always going to be that kind of, you know what I mean? He's that he's going to be good. Trust me. He's going to be Jared Goff, I think.
So he's going to get paid.
Yeah. And you're going to have flashes where you're like, wait, Jared Goff threw 5 touchdowns yesterday? Like, what?
Right.
And a half or some shit. It's like, this is crazy. But are these guys your generational franchise dudes? I don't know. I don't know. I got my highest ceiling for Herbert would be like a Derek Carr.
Is that wait? You're so high on this guy though.
Yeah, didn't Derek Carr win an MVP or have an MVP year?
He was in the running the 1 year, but then the following. Derek Carr did not win MVP.
Maybe
Come on.
But he
definitely did.
Running for it.
You might be thinking of his brother.
No, I'm not thinking of his brother. But Derek Carr was very close to an MVP.
Okay, I'm gonna do my Googles. You keep going.
You can, yeah. But either way, I'm saying I don't think Derek Carr's a quarterback. I'm just saying Justin Herbert is not no one in this class is a Tom Brady or an Andrew Luck. I don't believe.
Yeah.
I could see Herbert being that really good, solid, okay, here, Joe Flacco. There you go. Flacco has a bowl.
I was gonna say Derek Carr.
That's a better comparison.
Derek Carr finished for third in MVP voting that year, and I'm willing to put my money on it. His brother actually won 1 year under Gruden. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I wouldn't remember that, but he may have actually. But yeah, the Tua thing is huge on the hip, and when it comes down to injuries, especially to quarterbacks, hips scare the hell out of me. And also, Tua is left-handed. So I hate to be that annoying, you know what I mean, and say that it's that simple. But when you're left-handed, I know that no one thinks about this.
I was thinking of Rich Gannon. I was thinking of Rich Gannon. It wasn't Derek Carr's brother. Sorry.
I don't for people at home that don't think about this, right? When you're left-handed, the ball comes out of your hand differently. The ball spins differently. It spins a different direction, okay? Now, I know that James, you're just saying stupid things. Obviously, your hand. Receivers.
We've never said that on this podcast that James says stupid things.
So when receivers catch a ball out of a righty's hand for 10 years, they used to having the ball spin into their hands a certain way. Yeah. And now when a ball comes in that from a left-handed way, it's a bit different. That's all I'm saying. I don't think it's a make or break thing. I don't think it's a this or that thing. I'm just saying it's different. And when you're
it makes sense. It totally makes sense.
Right. And you have to also understand that all plays are based off of right-handed quarterbacks. We're always from the left hash. We're always from the right hash. When we're on the right hash, where does our guy like to look? We're not looking right. Normally, the field strength is to the right. Your base play is always on the left hash, so you have strength to the right for a right-handed quarterback. Everything in the sport is developed so that your best player and your most important position is right-handed, basically. From the the rules of the game from the ground up are right-handed. Right. So once you're a left-hander doing this thing, I just automatically have a bunch of questions that I would need to see in film room and hear how you discuss the answers to actually have a very good grasp on it. But
so 2 things you don't like: quarterbacks that wear gloves and quarterbacks that are left-handed.
Yes.
All right.
You think like
duly noted.
Usually huge red flags at the gate right away for draft scouting. I guess the next two guys, Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts. Those are probably your five, right? Am I missing anyone else?
No, you said them all. The ones that I brought up.
So Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts. These are your. Jordan Love could be good. Jordan Love in the right spot could be good. And
I keep reading that.
When you get these guys from these like kind of crappy schools that when all you hear them talk and all they're saying is like, I just love to win. I do what my coach tells me. He's coachable and he's this, right? So now when he kind of falls to this, like if he drops to New England, that's a great situation. The Saints would be a great situation. I mean, pick or choose. If I'm Pittsburgh, I'm just saying it's a thought. There's Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love. If you're Pittsburgh, makes a lot of sense. I mean, Big Ben's got some time going. You can grab these guys early second round, maybe. Even
I don't think that Big Ben gets through an entire season healthy. Like I think that he misses easily at least 3 or 4 games, and that's a perfect opportunity for a rookie to come in and kind of get some steam, right?
Right. Well, I don't know if you actually seen because Big Ben actually went on social media recently on a video. I think
I saw that beard. Beard.
Yeah, he live streamed it from his tent on the North Pole, I think, because he he hasn't been in a home for 2 years.
I feel like him and Brock Lesnar would be like best friends.
He looked homeless.
Yeah, exactly. Because like I don't know if you know Lesnar. He's a man in the you of course know he's a man in the woods, right?
Yeah, it's perfect. I mean, I think that I don't know. Big Ben's probably he's got 1 or 2 left in him, so I could see Pittsburgh making some moves, and there's some rumbles about them in free agency as well. I would be shocked if they didn't come out with a quarterback by Friday. So Jalen Hurts or Jordan Love going there. I like Jordan Love over Jalen Hurts. I don't know, man. I'm old school. When the going got tough, you transferred. So Jalen Hurts, do you want a good quarterback? Yeah, is he good? Yeah. Did he quit? Not necessarily, no, but I don't know. But he got beat out. I don't know, man.
He did, but he also thought he was good enough to run his own team, right? And he obviously did that at Oklahoma, and again, runner up to the Heisman, right?
So now this is where we've kind of developed this thought. Well, I think I'm good enough. Well, that's great. Now let's go watch that Jordan documentary again and go ask the coach if you think you're good enough. Because if Nick Saban thinks that Tua is better, who the fuck do you think is better? I think Tua is better. You know what I mean?
But was it also? But was he also put in a position to lose because Tua was a younger guy, and you might as well go with the younger guy? That's going to be the face of the future post Hurts, right?
That is.
I mean, the irony is that they're both in this draft now, so like it was either or. But
I mean, Hurts had snaps at a BCS level, right? So.
Because like the biggest what if is if Hurts he got hurt in that championship game, right? And Tua had to come in.
I believe he got outplayed.
He got outplayed. Okay,
it wasn't the championship. Remember, Hurts went out because he got pulled because he was playing bad the week before that. Tua came in, lit it up, and then they split time going forward.
Right.
But Tua beat him.
Tua did him. Mm-hmm. Oh. That is a good way to think about it. I never thought about it that way. That like he did get beat out by him. So
and again, I don't want to say that because trust me, Tua is a talent, and I get that. And but just from the standpoint of like how much stock do I have on a guy? If you're a sleeper, now one of my favorite quarterbacks ever, Russell Wilson, transferred too. But dude, there's.
So put yourself in his shoes. You're playing for the Griffins. You get outplayed by whoever was your backup, but in your head you're better than this guy. Would you? And you had the opportunity to play for another school without sitting out the year. Would you not do it?
No, I wouldn't.
Interesting.
You got to work.
He's just saying this to be politically right.
I don't know. I think you just got to work. It's tough if you're going to commit to a school, and to me that meant something. So when I committed to Guelph, that was it. That was the only jersey I was going to play for. I mean, you and I joked about this. I had a joking offer to go play at a different school, but for another year. Remember? Yeah. No, not going to happen. No, does not exist.
Interesting. They don't make them like you anymore, James. I'll say that. It's going to be interesting. I actually I sprinkled some money. As you can imagine, I haven't been able to gamble lately. So I've got Tua going to the Chargers. So I'm really hoping that pulls through. It's funny because me and Tyler both talked ourselves into it. And it's going to be funny because if Tua doesn't go to the Chargers, we're going to end up hating him for the rest of the career because we also picked Alabama to win the championship, and then he got hurt the next game and popped our bubble that way. So if I lose money to Tua twice, I'm not going to be a fan of his moving forward. So,
so two last statements. I think Chase Young is the best player in the draft, and I think Isaiah Simmons is a linebacker from Clemson who's also played safety, corner, outside linebacker, inside linebacker, and edge rushed as well. He's listed as a defensive player.
Yeah.
I think he is your gigantic upside on the right team guy.
Gotcha.
Like,
are these like
better?
Are these like your backup inputs just in case all your quarterback picks just you shit the bed?
No,
you can be like, I can scout other players that are not quarterbacks.
This is not a QB year. This is a straight up athlete quickness year. Isaiah Simmons is the best athlete or Chase Young is the best athlete on defense. Isaiah Simmons is the second one. And then when you want to look at receivers, dude, this is a receiver draft class.
For sure. Awesome. Okay, well, that gives us a lot to look forward to this coming weekend. We got the draft that starts on Friday, and that'll take us through to Sunday. And then Sunday we got the doc, so we'll have plenty to talk about on Monday. I got to end this podcast with our top fives here, okay, because I was really looking forward to talking about this because it's my grind my gears here. Okay, so can I put a disclaimer out, and can I just preface this with something before we get into this? People listen to the podcast, okay, this part of the segment. If your feelings get hurt easily or if you're sensitive, I recommend you not listen to this. This is a general this is a general list, all right? And a lot of this list is because I am spiteful and I can't do a lot of these things. But I just want people to take this with a small grain of salt. We're just trying to have some fun here. And it's just observations that James and I have noticed over quarantine. So this is our top 5 things that have irritated us over quarantine. We'll go back and forth because I'm sure we'll have some same ones. But my number one, and this is not ranked.
No, we got to go from 5. Oh, okay.
Oh, are we ranking them?
No,
okay.
Don't have to.
I didn't rank them because I don't want to, because then I think people hate us even more if we rank them. I will start with my first one. The irony is that we're doing this over a Zoom chat. I hate people that have been taking pictures of their Zoom chats and posting them. It was cute for the first week, and for a lot of these, they were cute for the first week, but there is no need to screenshot and post your Zoom chat every time you have one. Yeah. Are you guilty of this? Okay, good.
No. I could not agree more.
Some of these will be interesting to you because I know you don't sit on Instagram or Snapchat as much anymore, so you don't see it as much as I do. But dude, if you were on Instagram right now, you would see it like every third story. So that's my first one.
My first one. I can agree more than you. Nail on the head on that one. My first one is Tiger King, man. Can everyone shut the fuck up about these stupid tigers? Dude, I'm done.
Did you see that? Wait, did you see the documentary though?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good though.
No, and do you know why I haven't?
Because of everybody else?
Because everyone else is a fucking asshole. And they don't want to, hey, there's a Netflix documentary. You could just say it was good. That's it. That's all I need to do.
It has become quite a phenomenon. It was definitely, but you know what? Just like but with anything like that, like the pop culture, the biggest thing, it only lasted really a week. It's kind of dying down now. And I think with the documentary, it's especially going to die down now. Yeah, but I agree. I understand. I can understand the frustration if you've never seen it before.
And you know how much money that stupid asshole made because we all thought he was funny for being dumb?
See, now this is no. But this is now where you have to watch it because you will learn the truth.
Didn't they bring them all back together for another episode?
He's still in jail, dude.
Yeah. But he still made some money off this thing.
Okay, so Tiger King is your first one. Oh man, I wish you would watch it. Because one of my questions was going to be, who do you hate more, Carol Baskin or Jerry Krause?
Both of them equally.
All right, so number 2. Okay, and I know you've seen this one. I hate the challenges, specifically the couple ones, and that's maybe because I'm not in a relationship, but I hate everyone challenging each other and then posting it. Like, it's just getting irritating now. The handstand challenges, the push-up challenges. I've only done the push-up one because it was Gabriel Ferraro who listens to this podcast, and shout out to Gabe Ferraro. So I had to show him some love. But I hate the challenges.
So, but one of my ones I have listed right here, home workout challenges, ... fuck off. do not even think about adding me into any of those. And
yes,
I don't want to see your shitty push-ups, D. I don't want to see your half-ass push-ups or these fucking slight. Yeah, no, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. If you can do bodyweight stuff at home, that's great. Good for you. Do that. Don't show me. I don't want to see any of this.
So number 4 on my list was posting your workouts. I'm over it. We're all working out at home. Some of us, at least. There's no need to. And the one that specifically annoys me is the people that are running and pushing their kilometers up. Bravo. I'm jealous you can do 11, 12, 15 kilometers, but I don't need to see it every day.
Yeah. No, 100%. 1, I couldn't care less. 2, once you post it, I am going to totally judge the shit out of you because I know a lot of people say no good times and bad times and all of those things. So
and that's, I think you're almost suing yourself if you're not a runner and if you don't.
100%.
All right, a little bit of technical difficulty there. I guess us ranting kind of just blew the system. But the last thing we spoke about was posting your workouts. And I was just going on about people specifically writing about their kilometers and how much they're running. So what's your number 3? I like this.
So this is just horribly like contradicting. But I don't want to have a Zoom meeting and hang out with you.
Yeah, but we got a brand to live up to here. We got a platform we need to continue to contribute, so it's different.
You're right. But also, okay, so here's my thing. Don't ask me to hang out on a Zoom meeting and have a drink with you or something weird like that. Because one, now I have to make up some weird excuse because we all know I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
But I just don't want to have this like virtual, somewhat friendly. Oh, it's the same thing. We're on Zoom. I see you. We're having it. No, it's not the same thing at all. I don't care for this whatsoever at all.
I gotta give credit to one of our listeners, Jesse. She was saying that the worst thing about a Zoom conversation is when you're seeing somebody eye to eye like this, there's no proper way of getting out of it. Like if you want the conversation end because you can see the person, it's really difficult to get out of it. So that's definitely one of the downfalls of Zoom chats.
And I tend to always not talk to people in a situation where they could not be wearing pants. Do you know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm not going to speak to you unless I know for sure you have pants on. And right now I can't tell that for sure that you have pants on. So I'm not talking to you.
I'm not standing up either. So let's leave it at that. All right. My number, I guess I did the Zoom chat. I did the challenges, the posting of the workout. My number 4 is Twitter. Twitter used to be my second go-to social application. I've cut it down significantly. I'm guilty of it. When quarantine started, I was tweeting a ton. And then I just realized I was doing it for sport. Like I really had no reason to be tweeting as much as I did. And I just feel like people are tweeting at a higher clip than they normally would be. And I don't. And all the negativity on Twitter too. Like I'm not there for it.
Yeah. The negativity piece, I just have something better to do with your day. But to that point, my next one too is also, like these social media live feeds. Oh, join me.
The IG live. Oh my God. That's the worst
Twitter,
right now.
We're going live here. We're going live here. Catch us live in 10 minutes. Dude, stop. Because
we both sound like those angry old men on a porch right now.
But into the other defense of it, on the same point, why would you do a live feed when it's 2020 and you have all these editing capabilities and stuff and you can make real legitimate content down to 15 minutes, create a YouTube channel? This is the time where we should all be on YouTube all the time, and there should be updates of videos being uploaded every hour on the hour because this is that time. But don't take it to the point where it's social media and I'm sure everyone's bored. I bet they want to see my life. No one cares.
So the irony of you bringing this up right now is this is a little
you're live right now.
No, Yeah, I'm live from all my followers right now. Next week, with BlogTO, I'm doing a live with Prime Video, and I'm going live. This is a plug again. I'm going live with Prime Video. They have a celebrity chef who I still don't know who it is, and he's gonna help. He's gonna help teach me how to cook something. And it's going to be some high-level comedy because I cannot cook if my life depended on it. I always tell people I only know how to make cereal and KD. So if you're around, make sure you tune in for that, even though James despises it.
Yeah, I will not be tuning in. But everyone else, please let me know how it goes. No, I'm just kidding. That's different. That's different.
Yeah.
That one's different. When you're throwing a live feed on your couch and it's a face, like a selfie of you.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Yeah. What are you doing? Yeah, unless there's some value to it, or you're like teaching or whatever, or like you're
right.
I don't know. You're called upon the situation. Like, yeah, you have no reason to just have a casual conversation with your friend that I don't know of. And
100%.
Yeah, just like the 12 listeners that are tuned in for this right now.
Yeah, 12 is a little high. I would.
All right, my last one is I don't know if you've noticed this or if you've seen it, but everyone is making bread right now, specifically banana bread, and everyone is posting it. And I'm like, I don't care about your banana bread. Like, why are you posting banana bread of all things? Have you seen the whipped coffee that people are doing with the chocolate on the top?
Oh yeah, I have seen this.
One. So I like that because it's a revelation. Like, a lot of people had never experienced it. That's cool. Like, I tried it for the first time, whatever, it's great. But these people that are posting banana bread, that's like not revolutionary or new. Like, why?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
And like, what's appetizing about a photo of your banana? Like, I'm not gonna. What does this do for me? Are we better friends now? Like, I don't know. This isn't. My last one is the incredibly.
I thought you were gonna say D, and I'm like, that's just mean.
it's the incredibly dumb narrative that this is gonna last like forever. You know what I mean? Like articles all the time. You'll be like, oh, today the National Post said, 2021 we'll have sports back. It's like, fuck off. Like, this is so stupid. Yes, we're taking the measures, and for the foreseeable future, it is what it is. Yes. But if you think that this is like anything past September at the absolute max, like, you're crazy. Like, we're getting stuff back. It's going to come.
But I mean, my only fear is some things we will have some sort of social come September. Like, things will be a little bit. I just don't think they'll be completely normal because I think there's a likely chance that we could get hit with a second wave in December when it gets colder.
I'm telling you, when you hit middle of May and we have no movement whatsoever and nothing more is allowed of us, there will be riots, dude. You can't hold people in their house like this for so long.
Dude, you're already seeing people in Vancouver. Like, there's some southern states that are picketing and
that's what I mean. This is why the narrative of us not being able to leave our home until 2021 is incredibly stupid.
Yeah.
The economy needs to move. We got to go here, bro.
Yo, if Trump had his way, he'd open up the borders next week.
That's what I mean.
All right, James. Jam-packed episode, man. Like, almost hour and a half. So we probably lost people at the half an hour mark. But if you stayed in tuned up to this point, we appreciate you. And now that we have the equipment, we'll be back on a weekly basis. We've added an interesting twist where obviously we're doing this on Zoom, and since we're recording the video, we're going to try to post these on YouTube and see if we get any traction on there, because some people, Kiyomi specifically, was asking for a video version of this, as that's how she likes to consume her podcast. And next week we're going to have Gabe on the podcast. We've been talking about him forever. And we're finally, forever. So he's rolling up his sleeves. I know he's looking into his equipment situation right now, and I know he's stoked to be here. And I'm excited to have him up. And I think having this presents an interesting opportunity to have people come in. So I think we're definitely going to leave that door open, and hopefully we can have people come in here that we want to talk to. So James, I'm glad that we're doing this again. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thank you as always, man. This is good, even though we're not in the old similar situation as usual, but doing the best we can.
Absolutely. And folks, thanks for tuning in again. Stitcher, SoundCloud, Radio, Spotify, and now YouTube. We are on the tubes. So we're stepping up a level. Again, if you've tuned in this long, thanks for tuning in. And yeah, this is another episode of the Details Podcast.